What's up, Luca Nation? We're about to drop another episode for you, but I want to take a second. We've been working hard to bring you sponsor partners, and we have two of them. And I wanted to remind you of the two, and make sure you knew about the value add that they have for you, Luca Nation. Gem Mint Studios, which you can find their Gem Mint collection trio at gemmintphotography.com. Gemmintphotography.com. You have a promo code of LucaNation10 at gemmintphotography.com for 10% off. And most recently, we've partnered with Thrive Fantasy. That's thrivefantasy.com with your promo code of LucaNation20. You deposit $20 and they will give you $20 to match that for free. Again, we're going to keep bringing you free content, but we also want to, at your request, bring you a couple of partners, something that'll be a value add to you guys in your hobby journey. And please message us. If you want us to reach out to other sponsors, or for our next sponsorship partner, if you guys have some ideas, please, we answer all our messages, and we'd love to hear from you guys. Thank you, and enjoy the episode.
So Lupa Nation, welcome back. Welcome back to
There he
another
is. All
episode of
business. All
Blueface.
business. I'm gonna talk over him. All right, go ahead. I'll shut up. Do your intro.
Okay.
So you were about to tell me a story, and you're like, "Oh, let me tell Luca Nation the story." So what's the story?
It was just very serendipitous. I've wanted to make a play on the LeBron Chrome for a long time, and I found one that I really like, and I was able to reach an agreement with the buyer. But what was happening was I was trying to sell my Jordan, and I was just getting low ball offers after low ball offers, like 6,000, 5,500, and it's a $7,000 card. It's a Jordan Fleer PSA 8 that I traded for. If you guys want to leave a comment on my Instagram, I posted a picture of the trade there. But basically, I got a Tom Brady and a Jordan Fleer PSA 8, which I'm trying to trade up to the Chrome, like I recommended to you guys. And by the way, the Chromes are starting to move, Cage. And what happened? I woke up in the middle of the night. I'm like, damn, there's no movement on the card. Why don't I post the Jordan again in the Facebook groups? And within minutes, I had a sale for $6,700.
There you go.
Literally at 2 a.m. It was to an Australian guy.
Yeah. Well, we have some Australian listeners here as well, so good day to you. It's Sunday football. Put a shrimp on the barbie and let's get into these football plays. What do you think, Dan, my friend? What do you think?
Let's do it.
That's not a knife. That's all I know about Australia. I'm done. You've now heard everything I know. There's kangaroos there, and I'm trying to think what else, because we have some listeners. I don't want to insult them too much, but my entire knowledge base of Australia comes from the Crocodile Dundee movies.
Dude, they're good peeps. When I was traveling in Bali, most of the tourists there on holiday, it's like their Cancun, are from Australia, and they're good people. They love to party. They love to party, like a different level of raging, like being blackout drunk and driving mopeds. So I don't endorse that, but
Sounds like fun though.
They're really fun.
This
But
is
let me tell you
many
guys
years
a
ago.
stat, and
No,
I'm gonna,
please.
I'm going to tell you
Stat
guys
it
a
up.
stat, and then Cage is going to just run away with this, okay? So NFL teams are going into week 2 of NFL season. NFL teams that are 0-1 after week 1 facing a 1-0 team, okay? The team that lost their first game versus the team that won their first game with spreads under 10 points. The 0-1 team wins straight up 55% of the time and covers the spread over 63% of the time. So take that stat to the bank and make your own plays and decisions. There you go. Cage, what are you seeing on the board today?
I love it. So what I did was, because I love that stat that you presented so much, I'm going to start off with my first 1 o'clock game that goes against that. So obviously you can pick with whichever way you like with Andrew, but this is one of those games that could fall into Andrew's category. So I start off with this one. It's the Rams, who were 1-0, at the Eagles, who were 0-1. So if you listen to Andrew's play there, you'd be putting your money on the Eagles. I love this game because it's Wentz versus Goff. It's the 2 top picks of the 2016 draft, so it's a lot of fun, right? They've only met one time before. Wentz won that one. My pick on this one is that it's going to be an ugly game, but my pick is the Rams. My pick is, if you're going to put money on this one, it's Rams. It's not one that I would go 25 times on, but it's one where if you tell me who's going to win this one, The
Well,
Rams
let's
are going
break
to
that down. What are you seeing? Why do
I'll
you
tell you,
think
the
that?
Rams are going to win ugly, right? So if you looked at last week's game, the Rams showed what I would consider a new style of offense for them. A lot of short passes, heavy run. If that's their new offense, for cards and for fantasy, it's bad. I would sell any golf that I have. It's likely a style that's going to let them win games like the one they have today against the Eagles. Ugly, just kind of like, running the ball, throwing short passes. It reminds me almost of like a Patriots sort of offense, where throwing some passes across the middle, not taking big chunks down the field, not pretty, but enough to win close games like this. But it makes all their player sports cards go down. I mean, there's not anybody in there that, I'd be looking to be heavy on their cards on. For fantasy, if you had a run heavy and short pass play, the Malcolm Brown, the running back, is a play. I like him for daily fantasies. I like him for long-term season fantasy because, if they're going to be running the ball, he's going to be touching the ball. And he's going to be, probably PPR-wise, he's going to be catching the ball. But for cards, so I'm going to try to do like betting, cards, and fantasy for every game in the 1 and the 4 o'clock hour for you right now. So hopefully
You're the real MVP, man. You're the real MVP.
No, I'm Raps MVP. Who was that? Was that 50 Cent? That was the game? It was the game, right?
The game is the number 1 Madden player in the entire world.
Look at that. Look at that segue. Look at that. So we're doing football picks, and I bring up I'm Raps MVP. You get to know me. So here we go. Get to know the next play, which is the Giants at the Bears. Giants 0-1 at the Bears 1-0. So what'd you say, man? The 0-1 team at the 1-0 team. So Chicago's favored in this one. And I like Andrew's little thought process in this one because I'm going to go against that. Chicago favored over here by 6 points. I'm going to take the Giants and the points here. I don't think the Bears are covering the spread.
5 points to Mitchell Trubisky is insanity.
So it's actually a 6, 5.5, whatever. But yeah, I don't think – look, the Bears might win the game, but I don't think they're covering the points. I actually think the Giants might actually win this game. So betting on this one, I would bet the Giants on this one. I'm not a huge Giant fan. I live in New York, and you're a Philly guy. You probably don't like the Giants either. I was not impressed by Saquon Barkley, and we could talk about him in a second. But I do like Danny Dimes. And when we moved from the betting to the cards, I know he was one of your picks earlier this year. Daniel Jones he's the real deal, man. He's the only one I would talk about here. He runs the ball. He throws the ball. He's going to have, 40, 50, 60 yards rushing every game and more than that in a good game. He throws the ball like crazy, and that's going to continue again. I saw
real quick, their coach. I love Bill Belichick assistants. Their coach is Joe Judge. He came from the Patriots. He was groomed by Belichick. So I have only high expectations for the Giants.
Okay, I like it. I'm trying. So it's the 2019 Prism number 302. The base prism for Daniel Jones, Danny Dimes, as you like to call him, and so do most people. I saw one sell today for $25. I mean, this is, it's a little low. And I think there are a couple of them available in the 20s. I think he's going to have a good game today. I think that, the Giants are going to probably pull their first one down. I think the Bears got very lucky, came from behind. Trubisky for 3.5 quarters last week was playing really inconsistent, very inconsistent ball. It's just an interesting thing. What's his name? Allen Robinson, right? So fantasy-wise, the wide receiver for the Bears, he had his best game last year against the Giants. So 150 yards, whatever it was, he could really go off today. So Trubisky, that is a great security blanket for him. He's not happy with his contract. He's being vocal about it. You see, him saying all the right things in the press about how he wants to finish his career in Chicago. But that's just another way of saying pay me, whether it's Chicago or somebody else. He's got a fun little agent. It's fun how everything, like a Seinfeld episode, comes back to to cards and whatnot. He's one of the Vayner sports guys. Allen Robinson. And, so you see a lot of stuff posted about him. He is very good. He's the real deal talent. He's very quietly one of the best wide receivers in the league. And I think he has another big day today. He would be, for fantasy, somebody I'm starting. And just to throw a little nugget out there, fantasy-wise, for this week and for going forward, there's something wrong with Saquon Barkley. I think I think he came out of college as a stud. He got injured last year, and he has not looked the same since he came back from injury. I don't know if he came back too fast. I don't know if it never really healed. Probably, I have no idea what the story is with him. But since he's come back, his yards per carry are in the bottom half of the league. He's not utilized the same way. I don't know if it's because Jones is running the ball. I have no idea what the story is. But Saquon's a guy who, if you watch Josh Jacobs last week or you watch any Christian McCaffrey games, like that's the way they should be using Saquon. They should be using Saquon. He should be touching the ball, more than anybody else in the offense. He should be a nice dump off pass security blanket option for Daniel Jones, and he's just not. And when he does get the ball, he's not missing. He's not making people miss. What about Darius Slayton? All right. Well, listen, I didn't even have him mentioned in here, and what a horrible, horrible thing. I just got mentioned by my little partner over there in the corner wearing his Drew Bledsoe jersey. Gotta love throwbacks, man. You gotta love vintage stuff.
Love throwbacks. Not Drew Bledsoe, but I love throwbacks.
I think Slayton has a great game again. I think Slayton's the real deal. I picked him before the season. Obviously, he did not disappoint. I'm not going to go out and say that he has 100, 150, and 2 touchdowns every week because then he'd be setting a lot of records. But he's going to have another good game. And there's your Giants at Bears. I say Bears do not cover this spread. I think Daniel Jones has a good game. I think Allen Robinson has a good game. I think Daniel Jones Prism 2019 number 302 in the 20s. This might be the last week you're able to grab him that cheap. Because the PSA 10s are over $300. You can still get some raw for pretty inexpensive. And
let me ask you something.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Tariq Cohen they just signed him to a 3-year, $17 million extension. How does that make someone like Robinson feel? You think that's motivating or demotivating?
Well, it depends on what kind of. Only Robinson knows what kind of money he's asking for. And I'm sure it's not Tariq Cohen money. I'm sure it's significantly more money than that. So, it depends. If he looks at it like, how are they signing somebody else before they sign me? It's a chip on his shoulder. Great. Most of these guys who play well like that, the top guys, they carry a chip on their shoulder and it'll just be, adding fuel to the fire. He may just look at it and say, okay, that's not even a comparable deal. That's not the kind of money I'm looking for. And, so I don't really think it is going to really impact him. So there's game 2, game 3. I love this game, by the way. Falcons versus the Cowboys. On this one, remember I said I'm trying to do some betting, trying to do some cards, and try to do some fantasy. In this game here, the Falcons and the Cowboys, what's fun about this one is there's only 4 teams since 2011 that have not started 0-2. Only 4 teams. 2 of them are playing against each other in this game. The Falcons and the Cowboys are 2 of those 4 teams. So one of them will be 0-2. So one of them is going to actually, lose that. Wow. So it's a pretty cool stat, right?
2 mediocre teams that haven't started 0-2.
Yeah, Falcons and Cowboys, neither of them. There's only 4 teams since 2011 that haven't started 0-2, and these are 2 of them. So one of these guys.
What the other 2?
Green Bay, and I didn't even write it because they're not playing in this game, but it's Green Bay and another one. I don't remember off the top of my head, but It's just one of those fun stats. What? Lions. I know Green Bay's playing the Lions, but trust me, the Lions have started 0-2, pal.
Lions went 0-16.
Yeah, Falcons, Cowboys. So one of them is going to start 0-2 for the first time in a decade, which, obviously neither team wants it to happen, but I think the Cowboys are going to win this game. But here's my bet on this one for you betting folks out there. It's a huge number, but it's going to clear easy. The over is 52 points. Bang it. Put the mortgage on it. They're going to score over 52. Exactly. Go crazy. Do not hesitate.
Mortgage the house.
Do not hesitate on that one. This game, I think both teams might get into the 30s on this one. But the Cowboys ultimately will win the game. The cards.
Real quick, can I touch on something?
Yeah, please.
So the opening line on the over-under is 50. Right now it's sitting at 53.5 and 54. Mm-hmm. One of my favorite things, and I don't endorse betting or all that stuff, but if you go that route, I love catching a moving line like that. Because really 50 to 54, sure, it's a big difference. But in terms of totals, it's not the biggest difference, right? 1 touchdown, 7 points. So I love that. I love how the line's adjusting, it's moving up, and you're able to catch it.
My hypothetical book this morning had it at 52.5, but I'm sure that's already moved since I started doing my prep work so long ago. Because as you'll see, there's a lot that went into the Sunday night preview. But yeah, I love it. It's a great little additional fact for you, because obviously what that means is a lot of money's going on the over. And if you were able to catch this at 50, forget about it. That was a nice play. I still think 52.5, 53, 54. I think this game goes over 60. So, so I like the over on this one. For cards, coming into the year, I was high on Dak. I think this is going to be a nice game for his cards. I know you hate him. But I found one for you guys. Obviously, after last week, you were able to actually buy his Prism for under $1,000.
1,000?
Yeah. The PSA 10. Yeah.
That's insanity.
For the PSA 10, that's the one that Mahomes is like $10,000 or whatever it is.
Yeah,
So
Mahomes is 50,000 times better than Dak. It's not even close.
yeah, maybe 4 times better, not 50,000
4?
times better.
Oh my
4
God.
times better, yeah.
No chance. Mahomes
All right,
is.
we'll see what happens this year. We'll see if Mahomes can make it through a whole season with a healthy knee again. Oh wait, he didn't do that. So what I like on Dak, just because I like to give you guys a play on him. There's a 2016 silver select premier level card number 185. You can have that in the 2s. So less than $300. Nice. It's obviously a play off of Prism. It's a cheaper card. It's a select premier level number 185. It's a pretty card also. I kind of like those premier levels.
I love those cards. Is it field level, right? Or do they call it
premier level? There's field level, but there's also premier level. I like the premier level one. Just because the price it's much more easily accessible for most folks. Fantasy, right? So lots of points. You're going to have the wide receiver 3s become relevant in fantasy, right? So you can start both Russell Gage and CeeDee Lamb today. Both of the teams' wide receiver 3s will become relevant, and you're going to be able to pick them up in daily fantasies for cheap money. You'll be able to actually start them. They become guys who in other weeks where it's going to be messier games without that high scoring, both these guys have a chance to catch a bunch of balls and score touchdowns. So there's your wide receiver 3s become relevant in a game that I think is going to go above 60 points. Next game, going to be your favorite, 49ers 0-1 versus Jets 0-1. 49ers is favored by a touchdown here. Bet the 49ers all day. If you want your mortgage parlay on this one, you parlay your 49ers win with the Falcons Cowboys over. There's some pretty strong bets for you.
Can I throw 2 things out here real quick? First off, Luca Nation, do you see the preparation that goes in on this? We're on the East Coast, Cages. Wakes up early, puts in the time, puts in the research. He's bringing these to you guys, so I just hope you're thankful. I hope you appreciate it.
You haven't seen the stats, right, that go into it. Go ahead. Let us know.
Let us know what you think. Second thing, do you think there could be a little Super Bowl hangover for the 49ers here?
A little bit, but not against the Jets. I think this is a game where they may have
not enough. There's not enough of a barking dog, as they call it. With the Jets.
So So NFL teams, you know this from any sport, but NFL teams, you go into a week and you scheme for the other team's best player. You scheme, your offensive team schemes to keep your offense, away from their best cornerback or away from this. Your defense schemes to cover this guy or to make sure this guy doesn't beat you. Tell me on either side of the ball who the 49ers are scheming for.
The Jets are horrible.
No one. There literally is no one.
Right?
So yeah, Le'Veon's hurt, and even if he wasn't hurt, he's been terrible. He got his money and became Jamarcus Russell. So I don't understand who you're supposed to be, scheming for. Poor Darnold, man. So it's funny, right? The similarities amongst these quarterbacks. So why go Niners, right? Jimmy G, who I don't love personally, but Jimmy G's never been 0-2, and he's never lost after a loss. He's 5-0 in games he's played after he lost the game before it. So there's some strong numbers there. But here you go. Do you know how many starts Jimmy G and Darnold have in the NFL? I asked for Darnold, not to get you an answer, but it's
25.
27 each. They each have 27 starts. Each of them have 27 starts. So it's great guess. Jimmy G is 21-6, and Darnold's 11-16. Pretty big disparity. You're right. Pretty big disparity. So
I'm surprised Darnold is that good. I would think it was much lower. But
11-16.
It's not good, but the Jets have been very bad for a long time. Let me ask you though, like West Coast teams traveling to the East Coast, overrated, not as big of a deal as it seems.
Well, obviously it matters. It matters what time you played last week. It matters, short week. You name it. But it's not as big of a deal anymore. Also, you take a little bit of the sting out of it. There's no fans. You know what I mean? There's no part of it was, the time zones, the travel, the whole deal. But then you're also in hostile territory, which adds to it. yeah, it's something that I believe. I've seen the Raiders play really bad when they're traveling, but I think my high school football team could beat the Jets this year. So
Okay.
I'm not too concerned about the 49ers. So
Better
I had
team,
some
better
NFL
coach.
players on my high school football team too. Well, it's better team, better coach, just less that. I don't really love the 49ers this year at all, and I think they are going to have a Super Bowl hangover. I don't think they're going to be anywhere as good. I think everybody catches up to them in their division. You know, even the Cardinals might give them a run for not being in the cellar of that division. But here's my card play, which is a good one, right? Because obviously I think the 49ers are going to kill them, but I got a card play for you guys. So I'm not thrilled with the 2020 Mosaic cards, but right now that's all that's out there for a quick flip football play. If you think a rookie's going to be, have a great game. I got my Slayton pick for the week. Remember last week we went into it and I said, this is a guy to buy. I was ahead on Slayton and I said, buy him. And then you can sell him for 2, 3, 4 times the money after he has that big game. Brandon Ayuk. So it's 2020 Mosaic number 220, Brandon Ayuk, Ayuk. He's going to be the Slayton of this week. He's going to go over 100 yards. And right now you can buy his cards in the $5 range for those Mosaic cards. Obviously there's parallels like crazy. You name it, $5-6. After they play the Jets today, everybody's going to be jumping on eBay and wherever else they buy cards and trying to grab his cards. So if you happen to buy them, or do a little COMC, right? You buy it, it's in your cart, and then sell it after the game. You don't have to actually have the card. That's somebody I'd be looking for. Ayuk, wide receiver, the Niners. I think he's going to light up the Jets defense, and I think he's going to be the next receiver that you have not heard of before I mention him to you, and then he's going to be all over SportsCenter with his 100-yard game. So there's my card play.
Luca Nation, make sure if you missed it, go back, rewind these last 60 seconds, because there's a really, really good piece of information there of how to flip cards without actually even getting them to you. And that's COMC. And if you have more questions, send us a DM and maybe we'll do another episode on it. Sure. Keep going.
Yep. And for fantasy, Ayuk, I talk about him, Ayuk, start him. Even if you haven't heard about him, start him. And on the Jets side, believe it or not, I do have a Jets starter, Crowder, their wide receiver Crowder. So I was looking at the stats. Last week, he had over 45% of his team's scrimmage yards, which is the most for any player in the NFL. Talk about usage, right? So obviously Darnold leads on him. Obviously there's nobody else that they had to pick up chunks of yards and grab the catches. So if he plays, because he's got he's got some minor injury concerns, but if he plays, start him because he's basically all they have. I mean, he's half their offense. And that's game 4 in the books. Game 5, Vikings 0-1 versus Colts 0-1. Two a little bit surprising 0-1 teams considering, coming into the season what we expected on them. But obviously somebody's got to win this one. And I believe that the Colts cover the 3-point spread on this one. So betting-wise, I'm taking the Colts -3.
How bad is Kirk Cousins, man?
It depends. It depends on the system, and it depends what you're asking him to do. I think the Colts put up way too many points for him to be able to keep it up. I think if the Colts get stupid and because of the Marlon Mack injury decide that this is going to be the coming out of Jonathan Taylor running the ball 30 times, I think they could actually lose the game because that plays into the strength of the Vikings. You're never going to ask Cousins to catch up to a 2-3 touchdown lead. He's not going to throw the ball deep. He's not going to be able to bring a team back. He's somebody who can manage a game and keep it close and then steal one in the end. I hope the Colts don't play into that style. If the Colts have to, jump out, take a big lead, and never let the Vikings back into the game. And with that, I think it might be your last chance to buy Paris Campbell before he posts a second big week. Remember, we talked about Paris Campbell. If you're a listener to us, I mean, we get a lot of listens on our NFL previews and our NFL recaps and our NFL plays. So if you don't listen to our stuff, you should, because this wouldn't be the first time you're hearing about Paris Campbell, but he's a guy we really, really like. I think he's going to have another big game. And after he has two big weeks, forget about it. It's going to be tough to buy his cards for a couple of bucks the way they are. And if Hines plays well again, the same thing. I think that they're going to, with Mac injured, I think they're going to probably start to lean on Taylor. But we talked about Taylor in our episode 55 NFL preview. He was not a pass catching back in college. And with Hines in there, they don't have to make him a pass catching back yet. And I think Hines can still vulture 6 or 8 carries per game and then another, 6 or 8 reception targets that keeps him relevant in fantasy. It keeps him relevant in cards. He was the goal line guy. He scored 2 touchdowns last week. I'm curious to watch what happens between the mix of him and Taylor and how they work Taylor into it and his success. I mean, it's going to be the Taylor show eventually there in Indy. But I think there's definitely a role for Hines, and I think it's probably good enough to keep his cards relevant, to keep his fantasy value relevant. I'd start him. We were telling people to buy his Prism rookie cards last week for $1. Obviously, if he has another decent game, that's not going to be the case anymore. For fantasy wise,
let me drop something real quick.
Yeah, please.
Yesterday, the Vikings played the Packers, right? You know how many rushing yards the Vikings gave up?
Tell me.
Over 120. Over 120. Mm-hmm. So with that dual back, Jonathan Taylor and Hines, we always think of Rivers as he's going to dump off the ball, but I could see those two going for 120, 150.
So I believe it's funny that the Vikings are just bad, and I love your rushing stat, but my stat for fantasy was there were 3 wide receivers for the Packers last week that had huge games against the Vikings. They
some people would say that might be just Aaron Rodgers too, right? Like there's
part of it. But can you name the receivers?
Well, Adams is like the guy forever.
But there were 3, right? So it was like Scandrick, Valdez, and I don't even know the names.
Marquez
but the point
Valdez,
is,
Scantling.
Yeah, exactly. So, but the point is, the Colts have both.
Alan Lazard was the other one.
The Colts have both Paris Campbell and T.Y. Hilton, who did not really show up last week, and Campbell, believe it or not, had the same amount of targets. But I think for fantasy-wise this week, you should be starting Taylor, Hines, T.Y. Hilton, and Campbell. I think you can go really Colts heavy. You want to lean on them. A Colts stack in daily fantasy, that's fine. All of those guys are starters this week, and I think the Colts easily cover that 3-point spread.
I love that.
Game number 6, your 1-0 Jaguars going to Tennessee. 1-0 Tennessee.
I like that game a lot.
Tennessee,
you're doing good on time. You don't have to be rushed. Luca Nation asked for it. We want to bring him the detail. We want to bring him the stuff.
I'm not rushing. I've covered every single one of these I have. I want to do a betting play, a card play, and a fantasy play for all the 1 and 4 o'clock games. So we'll get them all. Jaguars. I got Tennessee minus 8.5 on this, and I'm going with the Jags. So obviously the spread here is Tennessee favored by 8.5. I'm taking the Jags. Give me that 8.5 points. I've seen some lines with 8. I don't care. Give me the Jags.
I'm seeing 7.5, but I like
so even
7.5.
I'll take the Jags. I don't think the Tennessee covers it.
What has Tennessee done to give up to what's it called? To have a spread of 7.5.
So
what has Tennessee done?
I'll get to that, right? So this matchup has just been historically bad for the Jaguars, and when we talk about fantasy, you'll know why the spread is what it is. When I talk to you about Travis Henry, the running back of the Titans, and what he's done to the Jaguars the last 2 times that they've met. But let me just do I think the Jags plus the points is the way to go here. Card-wise, I don't know how many times I have to say it, and the kid still doesn't get the respect that he deserves. But I just saw a $27 Gardner Minshew Prism 322 2019 rookie go off the board this morning. I mean, come on. I know he's not the prototypical quarterback. I know he's not, but that's too cheap, man. I mean, look what 21 touchdowns and only 6 interceptions last year. I mean, look what he did in week 1, surprising everybody. Came out with a big win. The kid is legit. He's got the flair. He's got that stuff. And I mean, it's what is this?
24 years old too. Like he's entering his prime as a quarterback.
I mean, he has another good game today, and I don't know if they win, but if they happen to pull off a huge upset and win today, and the Jaguars start off 2-0, you could forget about Minshew Prism rookie cards in the 20s. I mean, it's just not going to happen. So why not take that chance? There's little downside. He's a huge underdog. Unless he was out there and throws 3 interceptions, which the guy just doesn't do. He doesn't turn the ball over. That's a smart play to get in on his cards. And it's the same thing for DJ Chark, which, again, if you haven't been listening to us, this would be the first time you hear us talk about him. It's not. It's like the 8th time we've mentioned DJ Chark. He was a guy we mentioned before football season was even, talked about. That was one of those wide receivers we thought was going to have a really big year. He's going to be a wide receiver 1 in fantasy. And we think, for a couple bucks, his Prism rookie number 223 is a card to pick up. Fantasy-wise, I think Minshew has a big day, whether it's because he's actually pulling off an upset, keeping him close, you name it, or they're playing from behind. Either way, I mean, it's Minshew's show. They don't have Fournette back there anymore. The Jags will do everything they can to try to stop Henry, and here's what we were talking about. What has Tennessee done to justify that spread? In his last 2 games against the Jags, he had 159 and 238 yards rushing against them. He basically eats him up. They give him the ball and he goes. They give him the ball and he goes. And I don't know. I think I read, what did he have, 31 touches or 31 carries last week? I mean, he should get the most touches. He gets the most touches. He's the only guy in the league that I can say is an old style running back, where it used to be give the ball to Emmitt Smith 30 times and let's see what he does and let's have him stop us, right? It's different football that the Titans play. I have to think that the Jags are going to do something to try to slow him down. I still think he has a big day because I don't think they can. I think they'll put up some schemes. I don't think he's going to have 238 yards. I think he has a good day, but I think they're going to try to do something to try to
let me ask you. Let's say even if he does have 238 yards with Minshew and how he's able to keep the game close, I think even with that stat, the plus 7.5 is pretty good.
Yeah, well, I think he has a good game. And I think, I think that he's relevant. I think that Minshew has a good game. But yeah, I love the Jags with the points. I think people are not giving the Jaguars any credit at all. I didn't even give them credit. I loved watching them last week. I think in the NFL preview, I might have said the Jags would go 3-13. And they still might, because I don't know if they win this game, but I don't think they're an 8-point underdog.
Well, and that's why I love the Minshew play too, if you think about it. Like, no one's expecting anything of the Jags. No one's expecting anything of him. If he overperforms by a little bit, I think his cards have a way to go. And I think he's a gamer. I think he's a superstar. I think he has a ton of charisma. I really like the Minshew play. And I think he has 4 or 5 years with the Jags too. I know we do mostly shorter term plays. But if that team can surround him with some offense, I think he's going to be good for the next 2, 3, 4 years. Do you get anxious? Why are you start moving around the house?
Breakfast. You gotta start getting breakfast ready for. You gotta start getting breakfast ready for the folks.
So what's happening here, Luca Nation, is the wife and the kids are making pancakes and bacon. Cage is in the room next door, and he started smelling it. And he was like, "Fuck! I'm only halfway through my list of picks, but I smell it. I'm gonna start walking." So he started to move around.
I'm a sucker for bacon, man. You put bacon on anything or in anything, and I will eat it.
Let's go. Let's wrap it up.
Forget about it. Wrap it up, dude.
I can't have an angry Cage.
I'm not angry. I'm never angry. I think we got, we're not even halfway done. That's game 6. But yes, it is. No. It is not. You cannot state it enough that Minshew is the guy. Minshew, you should be doing whatever you need to do to get a couple of those Minshew cards. I love him. I think he's great. And all you got to do is, it's one of those few places where they actually let fans in Jacksonville. Not today, but when that stadium was rocking last year, and literally 20,000 fans, men and women, are in the stands cheering for him, wearing mustaches. The fake Minshew Mania mustache. It's really just a cool thing, and
I'm getting one myself.
It's exactly what we look for outside of sports cards. It's great to have that performance on the field, but it's even better to have something outside of it that makes you relevant. So anyway, enough about Minshew.
How sick would a mask be, right? Like if we made a mask with the design of a Minshew.
They should. They should. The Jaguars, once they start, towards the end of the year, they'll probably have half the people in the stands. People should have Minshew masks. Minshew Mania masks with the mustache on it. I'm surprised it's not even out there. It's a great idea.
Nation, there's $1 million idea.
That's a great idea. So the next game is the Broncos, who are 0-1, versus the Steelers, 1-0. I got Pittsburgh minus 6.5. I don't care if you got it at 7. I don't care what the story is. The Steelers are going to cover that touchdown. The Steelers just look really good. Their defense is good. I mean, Big Ben looked better than 2 seasons ago when he was healthy before he got injured. He came back with something to prove. I'm sure he didn't like missing time. He's got weapons.
He has that quick wide receiver that you talked about.
So, yeah, and it's a great segue into the cards, right? He had 10 targets last week. And it's going to continue this week for Diontae Johnson. Diontae Johnson. He's going to have a big day today. It'll be your last chance to get his cards. I'm looking Diontae Johnson Prism 2019 number 352 for a few dollars. I mean, you're talking about a guy who is criminally underpriced. If you don't want to buy his Prism, buy his Optic Hollow. Ian and I just opened a 2018 Optic Mega Box. Our LCS had one on the shelf. I think we paid $120 or $130 for it. It has those red and yellow, parallels in it that are retail specific. We had a couple of Josh Jacobs. We pulled a Kyler Murray base card out of it, and we got a Deontay Johnson optic hollow. And perfect. We're talking about him, and we pull one. So we're happy about that.
You know who he reminds me of? So
Who?
I think in that offense, there's one really key player that they've been missing, and that's a healthy Antonio Brown. And Deontay Johnson reminds me of Antonio Brown. So I think Smith-Schuster, you know what you're going to get with him. He's going to catch the ball. He's going to short routes, in and out, whatever. But someone that could create separation. Cage smells the bacon again. Someone that can create separation. Deontay Johnson reminds me of his game, not his all the other stuff aside, of Antonio Brown. So I think it's a really, really good play. He got the bacon. He's we need video. We need YouTube here. And now we're going to go to our regularly scheduled commercial break. We will be back in 10 minutes.
No. We gotta press on, man. I want this out there so people can.
Don't forget something. Don't forget, you need more soda with more bacon. So let's make sure that we get both of those for the second half of the show.
So I like your comparison to Antonio Brown, but I think Deontay Johnson is a little bit different. I think Schuster is filling the Antonio Brown role, the deep threat, the crossing pattern. I think it's funny because Brown was a bit of both of them, right? So Brown stretched the field and also did the crossing routes. I think what I'm seeing out of Juju is he does the crossing routes. Deontay Johnson's a little longer. He's a little taller. He can stretch the field, take the top off the defense. But I also see Ben using him in the red zone, not the same way he would use Juju. I think, more fade routes. Those passes that quarterback like to have from the 3, from the 6, where the receiver's off into the corner of the end zone. He's got enough height to go up and get the ball. I think you're going to see them use him for those type of plays, which is great because it'll keep him very fantasy relevant.
Here's my thing. So one thing I look for, and I know the whole short routes versus long routes, I think that's important. I look for creating separation, right? I think that's something that I think isn't talked enough about is what wide receivers, regardless of how they do it, are able to create separation, right? At the end of the day, that's what a quarterback needs. I think that's what makes Tyreek Hill so special. Is not only is he fast, you've seen fast guys that don't create separation. Not only is he fast, but he's able to create separation. That's what I saw with Deontay last week. Even though he did have a ton of drops, he was so open because he's able to have separation from the cornerback.
I'll tell you what I saw, right? So obviously he was used last year, but not as much as they intend to use him this year. He's got some hype around him. He's got some talk around him, and he started off horribly, right? He muffed the punt, dropped a couple passes, but you saw a completely different player in the second half. And you talk about it all the time with athletes, right? These are guys who have to have short memory, right? They have to, they have to be able to. Oh, I don't know what that is.
Someone saw a Giannis Prism autograph on Facebook, and they took a video.
Nice. Well, so Johnson had a nice short memory, and in the second half, he turned it on. And I remember watching the game, and one of the announcers was like, we're seeing a completely different player here than we saw in the first half. And that's, it's important, right? Because, a young kid like that could let it get to him. They could allow a bad first half to kind of linger, but he didn't, and he had an amazing second half, and I hope that some of that momentum carries over for him into game 2, and I'm sure it will. He's definitely my pick. He's a guy who I would start in fantasy, and he's a guy who I would 100% tell you to look for his cards. Again, it's his Prism number 352 for fantasy. I'm gonna tell you, everybody loves him, Jerry Jeudy. Sit him this week, all right?
Because of his name, I agree. I don't like that name at all.
No, he's a great player, and you're going to start him for 90% of the weeks. But a rookie wide receiver facing an elite defense on the road in a short week is not ideal. So there's your real, actual research going into the fantasy stuff, right?
Well, Crimson Tide guy.
So yeah, he's a great receiver. He's going to be really great. But so it's like a sneaky little play on Jerry Jeudy, right? People like Jerry Jeudy a lot, but this is a week where I think he underperforms because, like I said, rookie, Steelers D, on the road, short week of preparation, not ideal. The sneaky play on this is his cards might actually drop a little bit after this week. And if you're a guy who wanted to buy some Jerry Jeudy mosaic cards or, get in on some Jerry Jeudy cards, I have a feeling that when he posts a subpar performance this week, it's overreaction city in our hobby right now. 1 week and we'll get up to Clyde Edwards-Helaire in a second. Trust me, if you're a fan of his, you're not going to want to hear what I have to say. But it's overreaction city, guys. It's one of those things where, a guy has a great game and boom, like his cards fly. Guy's a bad game and everybody wants to sell him. So I think Jeudy is great long-term. I think he's going to be a really good wide receiver in the league for a long time to come. I just don't think today is going to be his day. So if there is overreaction on it, and after he has a bad day, you got people coming on eBay or wherever else and dumping his cards, it could be a good time to pick him up if you're a fan of Jerry Jeudy. So a little fantasy / card, combo there. All right. Game number 8 on our slate. It is the Bucks and the Panthers. So the Panthers are 0-1. The Bucks are 0-1.
Back
right?
with Mr. Brady.
So yeah, Bucks are favored in this one by 8.5. I don't really care what the spread is. He's covering it. Doesn't really matter. Yeah, he's covering that. Come on, man. I'm a Raider fan. The Panthers lost to the Raiders last week, and they're bad. So this is just one where they come back. For today for cards, we were on Godwin with his 2017 Prism number 243. Today may not be a help for him because I don't even know if he's playing. He went into the concussion protocol. I know he was cleared for practice on Friday, but it's one of those guys where I don't think the team's going to be leaning. Oh, so he's out. But even if he played, I don't think the team's going to be leaning on him heavily because, I think they're going to be ahead. They're not going to be throwing the ball anyway. So, that's one where, he'll be playing next week. He was cleared to practice Friday. So, that it wasn't, as far as concussions go, it wasn't that bad. And it was a late report too. I think it came out on Wednesday that he was in the concussion protocol. It wasn't something that was clear enough during the game for them to actually, put him in it post the game. So I think he'll be fine. It might provide an opportunity for you guys to grab that 2017 number 243 card cheap before he starts to explode this year. Can
I tell you something? Can I jump in real quick?
Yeah.
Just on the spread. And this is interesting. This is a more of an experience play that I'll bring to Luca Nation here. And I don't think necessarily that the Panthers are going to win this game. But I will say there is a ton of value right now on the Panthers money line. I know what you said about, Brady bounces back, but there's nothing that points to that happening. This is a new team. New teams take time to gel. You know that. Going 0-2 is not a big deal in the NFL. It's just not.
No, it's not. But Brady's never had it happen. Ever.
I understand. But Brady also had a system and a team and a coach that he's been doing this. It's a unique scenario. So don't sleep on Carolina plus 305. Just don't sleep on it. If you match these teams up on paper, no question the Bucs are more talented. Given the situation, the scenario, there's a lot of value on that plus 305. A lot of value.
So fantasy-wise, no, fantasy-wise on this one here, I actually like it. I mean, look, come on, you're right, 8.5 points, and in some places, if it's 9, that's a lot of wood, right? I mean, that's a lot to cover on a new guy. We talked about him last week. He didn't look good, didn't look like the same Brady. It's not the same team. It's not the same scheme, and he's being asked to do a lot more with a lot less. I think Evans is hurt, Godwin is out. It's an interesting scenario there. But from a fantasy standpoint, one of the toughest decisions that I had was the starting Ronald Jones. And I think, what we're going to be watching this game, even though it's Brady dominating the headlines, it's going to be the Tampa Bay backfield again. And Jones should remain the lead back, but, Leonard Fournette's going to have to get worked into there. It's an interesting thing to watch. Is he going to cut into the role with a game under his belt now in that Tampa Bay offense? And for fantasy-wise, if you're a Christian McCaffrey fan, I feel bad, right? Because that guy is an elite talent, right, on a team that's just not so good. He's like my Mike Trout, right? Elite talent on a team that just underperforms. But it's even worse. It looks like, and it's something to watch if you're a CMC guy and you invest in his cards. They spread the ball around crazy in in week one. I mean, just there was not really, I mean, when McCaffrey touched the ball, he was great, but they really looked like they were trying to get everybody involved in the offense. And if you're a fantasy player, that's bad news for upside on people like DJ Moore and Christian McCaffrey. So everybody's a fan of spread out offense and, everybody getting a piece of the action, but not in fantasy. Fantasy, you don't want that. Fantasy, you want to, trust on the fact that Christian McCaffrey is going to get his touches. And week one would have scared me a little bit if I was somebody who drafted Christian McCaffrey really high in fantasy drafts. That moves us on to game number 9. Lions 0-1 at Packers 1-0. What do you think there? So
this fits the spread that or the stat that I talked about at the beginning of the week. I would not like to bet on the Lions. There's teams that I just don't enjoy betting on. Mm-hmm. I don't like betting against Aaron Rodgers, and I don't like betting on Detroit. So I would lay off completely and wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. But I'd love to hear what you'd say.
So it's funny. In addition to your analysis about how those 0-1 teams usually do well in these situations, the Lions really shouldn't be 0-1. I mean, they were killing the Bears, and the Bears had one of those weird, like, Hollywood movie-style comebacks in the fourth quarter to steal this game from them. And even after that crazy comeback, the Lions had the game won, but DeAndre Swift dropped a pass in the end zone that would have given him the game. He was in the end zone, wide open, pass in his hands. He kind of turned to try to, fall into the end zone and drop the ball, and they wound up losing the game. So the Lions really could easily be 1-0, not 0-1. I think they could have, won the game in week one. So all those things, your stats, the fact that the Lions are 0-1, but I think they were the better team in week one against the Bears, they all kind of cut in favor of betting the Lions on this one, but there is absolutely no way I would pick the Lions because we said it, hell hath no fury like a woman scorned, or Aaron Rodgers when his team goes out and drafts a quarterback instead of some offensive help for him. And I would not bet against Aaron Rodgers any game this year. I mean, if he goes 16-0, I wouldn't be surprised by it. Rodgers, I think he's really looking to prove a point this year that he should be in the league, that his team should never even think about drafting a quarterback until, they have to put him in a home. And it's I
compare Rodgers in some ways to LeBron. He's someone you just don't want, he might be casual sometimes. He might be not as liked as some other quarterbacks, but at the end of the day, if he ever turns it on, that's a scary sight.
So I'm going to tell you guys about a card that I picked up coming into the season. For cards, because it's not always about today's rookie or the guy who's going to be a flash in the pan, right? Obviously, everybody knows Aaron Rodgers, and I'm not telling you anything nuts, right? But sometimes you miss the forest for the trees in our hobby, and sometimes you get caught up by the shiny new object, right? Sometimes you want Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and you want Brendan Ayuk, and you want DJ Chark, and you want all these guys I'm telling you about, but you got to balance out that portfolio with that flight to quality that Andrew's always talking about, right? He talking about those blue chips, right? So, some of that's vintage guys who aren't playing anymore, and I tried to bring that to you at the end of one episode, little bonus play where I said, go out and pick up an 89 score Barry Sanders PSA 10 for yourself. And at the time it was $800 and you cannot buy it for that. I think the card's gone up, 40-50% since we mentioned that. This card falls in there, even though he's still playing and still has some room for upside because I think he's going to have a really good year this year. But, when we talk about the thousands upon thousands of dollars to pay for a Dak Prescott card or, even Lamar Jackson or Patrick Mahomes, that the 2005 Topps number 431 PSA 10 Aaron Rodgers rookie card, you could still get around $500, $600, $550. That's I like to say it's criminally underpriced, but it really is a crime. Obviously, there's pop on that. It's a Topps card, and it's not a shiny fancy Prism card because there was no Prism in 2005. But it's a cool card, white border. Shows Rodgers. It's quickly going to become a vintage card because it's now 15, 16 years old, but he's still performing. You got a chance to ride some upside wave on that card. And I've read some articles recently about, buying football vintage. This is not exactly vintage, but it's pretty close. I mean, Aaron Rodgers, I don't want to call you vintage. Please don't come after me on that. But, everyone
sort of is. It fits the bill, right?
Well, you got to remember, right?
Undervalued.
Think about the money you're deploying in our hobby, right? I don't even know how much is a hobby box of Mosaic. A lot of money.
Yeah.
How much about these rookie cards going for guys who are unproven, haven't even played a game, right? I'm seeing people pay more than $500 for Joe Burrow cards, and it's great. There's hype, there's potential, he could be really, really good. Although I was talking about Joe Burrow with my son, and he's like, "Daddy, Joe Burrow's never even won an NFL game," and he's right. He's right. But so why wouldn't you then just spread your income around, spread your portfolio around, and make sure that you have a blue chip rookie like this 2005 Topps number 431 PSA 10 Aaron Rodgers card in there. I have one myself. I said I bought it. I bought it in the offseason.
What's the number?
It's 431, I believe. Right? Look it up and make sure I'm giving them the right number.
And guys, Worf brought this play to you guys back when we had him on our episode as well. He said it's completely undervalued. And at that time, that card was around 400. Now it actually hasn't gone up as much as some other cards.
Yeah.
It's sitting right around that 600 range.
So fantasy-wise, right, I think Rodgers has another huge game, just like he did against the Vikings last week. But I would look to see DeAndre Swift, the Lions running back, bounce back after his drop literally cost his team a Week 1 win. Dropped the ball in the end zone. And, hopefully the team can rally around him, and then he comes into this game looking to actually do some stuff. So that's a guy, if you want to look at his mosaic cards, I think he's going to make sure that he catches everything that comes his way this week, and he's going to have a decent game. But this is one where, when we have some picks out there that you want to underline, this is one where if you're betting, I think the Packers cover the 6 easy on this one. So now game number 10, Bills at the Dolphins. Bills are only favored by 5.5, which is shocking to me. I don't understand this at all. The Bills are going to cover this on Josh Allen all day. Allen's cards are already hot, but I'm expecting them to get even hotter after a Patriot-less division, and he starts off 2-0. A Brady-less Patriots, I should say. I don't think Cam Newton has, anything like Brady had, and I think the Bills are going to start off 2-0. And I think suddenly,
that's another one of the stat plays. 1-0 versus 0-1.
See there you go. Well, I'm not betting the Dolphins. I'm sorry about that.
No?
So I think your stat play is going to start evening out this week because it doesn't seem like most of them are going to go that way. But we'll see, right? You don't like to bet against history. So cards, Allen.
Well, let me ask you: do you think the Bills are as good as they're made out to be?
No, but I don't think they have to be.
Do you think the Dolphins are as bad as they're made out to be?
Yes,
you do.
I think they might even be worse.
Wow, I think the Dolphins are on the up and up.
Well, we'll see today, but I don't think the Dolphins have anything in this game for the Bills. I think the Bills' defense is too good. I
had bad weather for the game today too.
There you go. Well, listen, I think that there's no reason why the Bills shouldn't cover 5.5 today. Fantasy-wise, you got Allen all day. Devontae Parker is supposed to play, but he's injured. I'd stay away from him. So, we'll see. I think he's got a hamstring injury, which you never want to see from a wide receiver. So that's all of the 1 o'clock games, I believe. That's all 10 1 o'clock games. It gives us 3 more games to cover for 4 o'clock. And then we will come back to you guys for the evening recap and give you some plays, I think. So, but the 4 o'clock games, first one is Washington against the Cardinals. Cardinals are favored by 6. I think the Cardinals cover that 6. This is all Kyler Murray. For your cards, I'm not going to give you a play here other than Kyler Murray's great. And I think he's going to be a great NFL quarterback. If he's going to be very, very good, I think he's going to do lots of great stuff for this team. But I think his cards are already too high. I think you have a lot of like Mahomes and Lamar Jackson built into his cards already. You see the prices going where they are. And, Lamar Jackson won the MVP last year with a great team around him, might be the best offense in the league. Mahomes won the MVP and then the Super Bowl. Their prices are justified already because of that. Kyler Murray is in what I consider the best division in the NFL. It's going to be tough sledding for him, even as good as I think he's going to be. He's also a little smaller than a guy like Mahomes. He's a little small. I think he's smaller than any quarterback since like Doug Flutie. The NFL is a grind, right? It's a long season. He's going to take some hits, especially running the way that he is. And I'm just a little concerned about, not just for this season, but total longevity, the ability for him to play the way that he's playing and justify and substantiate the prices that his cards already have. So if I were somebody who was heavily invested in Kyler Murray, I would just take a pause for a second. I don't think today is the week to worry about him. I think that they win easily. it's an interesting thing. And for fantasy, go ahead.
So
please.
yesterday I got my sub back, right? And I had a Prism base Kyler Murray PSA 10 that I bought the base for $50.
Yep.
And we were just talking about this. It's not that I think it's a really important lesson to learn. Selling off and taking profit off the table does not mean you believe in a player less. Those are mutually exclusive things. You can believe in Kyler Murray's longevity and being successful. We're realizing that you're able to make 20x your profit on your Raw, take money off the table. After this week, I'm selling my Kyler Murray Prism just to take money off the table. I think he's going to be a stud. I think he's going to be the rookie of the year. But he can't be because he's not Ben Simmons.
He's a rookie. Well, wasn't he a rookie last year? So
you missed the joke, huh?
Yeah, I know. He's a rookie of the year. He's not Ben Simmons.
You're thinking about your next play.
No, I'm still on this play. I mean, one of the reasons why I think he's very, very good and we're on fantasy is Hopkins. I mean, we talked about this coming into the year and why Murray was a nice play. And obviously Murray was a nice play, but he's already gone up tremendously. But bringing in Hopkins was great. If he has a week like he had last week, where they basically targeted him on 50% of the plays, he's going to end up being the number one wide receiver for fantasy. He's going to end up being the number one wide receiver in the league. So for fantasy wise, obviously I'm not telling you anything, this is one of those obvious plays, but Hopkins in there, he's even better than people thought. If you don't have him in a fantasy league and you wanted to try to trade like Christian McCaffrey for him, that might actually be smart. And here's a sneaky fantasy play. You probably never even heard of him, but Washington tight end Logan Thomas, there's a start. He's going to score this week. And we can start looking tight end cards are tough. But I think he scores this week. I think he's a big target for Washington. He had a great game last week. He's got another good game this week. Again, Logan Thomas, and he's a guy who I will start looking for some card plays for you on as well. But fantasy-wise, he's a start. We only got 2 games left. We're going to go to Chiefs at Chargers. I like bringing you plays. Here's another one. Over 47. Take it to the bank. Okay? The Chiefs might score 47 points themselves. But Chiefs Chargers 47, and here's the reason why, right? So let's talk about cards, and then we do fantasy, and then why I think that's a lock. It'll all play out. But I know everybody loves Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Everybody remembers him from college. Everybody knew he was great coming in, and obviously the situation that he found himself in is fantastic because Kansas City is a great team. But I think he's going to be a huge letdown this week. I think you're going to see that he is weak around the end zone. And we saw that last week, red zone-wise, goal line. I'm going to see our friend Williams start to make a little bit of an impact in those red zone games and eat away at the goal line carries and Clyde Edwards-Helaire's value. So I guess what I'm saying is he's going to be good. He's going to be a name all year. Kansas City's a dominant team. They're going to win a lot of games, and he's going to have a lot of stats. But please don't dump your kid's college fund into Clyde Edwards-Helaire mosaic cards because he's the only one that's available right now. That's the only product that's out there. And because everybody thinks that, wow, he's the Chiefs running back, go ahead and get him now. There's some real chinks in the armor there. There's some real, issues that I personally have with him. And I think some of them will come out in today's game. Look, the Chiefs are going to roll. I think the Chiefs are going to have a great game. I think he's probably going to have good stats, but you never want to have a running back who doesn't get the goal line carries. And that was the one weakness I saw from him last week. And I think you're going to see, if he continues to have problems there, you're going to see somebody else get those touches. And that's a problem. Fantasy, I like Austin Eckler a lot today. And, he's a nice play for running the ball and receiving the ball, and a sneaky DFS quarterback for you guys. So a daily fantasy quarterback, if you want to spend your money on DeAndre Hopkins and some of the other studs that we talked about and not spend all your money at quarterback, Tyrod Taylor is going to have a strong stat day today because the Chiefs score a lot. Chiefs going to put up points, and the Chargers are going to have to put up points too. And I liked what he did week 1. He was pushing the ball down the field. He was taking deep passes. And I think he's going to have to do that today. I think he's going to be playing from behind. He's going to have to start to throw the ball. He's going to have to, put up some stats. And he has the wide receiver core and Eckler at running back to actually do that, put up some numbers today. So look for Tyrod Taylor in daily fantasy. So that's game 12. You got anything on that, or you want me to go right into the last game, game 13?
Last game, game 13.
Last game, game 13. We got the Rams at the Texans. Excuse me, the Ravens, the Texans. Ravens minus 6.5. The Ravens are going to cover that at 6.5, no problem. For cards, I like the Ravens running back Dobbins. I think he was a little overshadowed by our friend Clyde in Kansas City. And it's a quick flip kind of thing, because I think what's going to wind up happening here is I think the Ravens are going to be up. They're going to be up big. I think the Texans are going to be throwing, and I think you're going to have a fourth quarter where the Ravens are going to see what they have with that running back in mop-up duty. I think the whole fourth quarter is just going to be clock killing, run the ball, and he's going to have a good stat day, which in turn, fantasy-wise, I'm going to jump ahead here because I'll leave it on a nice card play. But fantasy-wise, I think you're going to see, believe it or not, a big game for a lot of Texans for fantasy. I think you're going to see Watson have a good game. I think you're going to have Fuller have a big game. I think you're going to see basically everybody on that team. Johnson, I think all the Texans are going to put up some stats, and Dobbins is going to have a big one for mop-up duty in the fourth quarter. But here's a little sneaky play, right? So Dobbins has obviously mosaic cards, but a lot of people don't know this. Have you ever heard of Allen and Ginter?
I have. That's our dream, right? We want to be on an Allen Ginter card in like 2030.
I'd like that. That would be cool. So, Tops, if you're listening to this, once we get enough traction, put the Luca Nation podcast here on a Allen and Ginter card. But it's basically a baseball release, right? It's mostly baseball cards, you name it. But it throws in other players. It throws in, I think I opened the box of it this week with my son, and we got a goalie relic card. Who is this? Brianna Scurry, soccer goalkeeper relic card. And, we got some other baseball relics. It's a weird set. It's got like weird monsters and rocks and geology and all kinds of craziness. But I opened a pack and I was surprised to see Dobbins was in the set in a baseball release. They have a rookie card. So it's not his Prism, it's not his Mosaic, but it's actually a Topps football release. Now he's in his college uniform. It's kind of like, blurred out, but it is a Topps rookie card of Dobbins. And what's cool about it is there's autographs too. And they got cool ones, red ink, numbered out of 10, and they're cheap because nobody knows they're there. So if you want a sneaky Dobbins playing, you don't want to go Mosaic, which is fine, you can. Check out Allen and Ginter Dobbins. It's 2020. Allen and Ginter. It's ALLEN and Ginter GINTER. He's got a mini card with different versions on it. He's got a regular base card. There's a silver hollow foil that's just in hot packs. And you're talking cheap because people are not looking for this football rookie in Topps Allen and Ginter cards. So it's just a sneaky little way to play his cards. I wouldn't go nuts and buy a million of them, but if you believe in him as a flip this year or as a long-term good running back, it's just an area you can look in where not a lot of people are looking right now. You looking it up on eBay or what?
No, we have Cardboard Chronicles coming up later today. We're recording our guest episode for this week, so I'm sending out the calendar invite.
Sweet. Enjoy. All right, guys. Well, listen, that's 13 games. It covers all the 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock games. Hopefully you're able to hear this in enough time to get in some daily fantasy plays, to get in your fantasy lineups. We gave you some over, some under, some guys who were thinking of overperform. So after you hear this, hop on the Thrive Fantasy app. And if you haven't signed up yet, you can use code LucaNation20. As long as you deposit $20, they will give you $20 for free to play. Because you are listening to Luca Nation. You're listening to the Lucas, Tigers, and Bronze Oh My podcast. Again, that code is Luca Nation20. Put that code in, and maybe we'll be in a contest against one another. And if you do make sure.
My two favorite plays for today that you mentioned, I think Baltimore is going to smack Houston. I think that's a really good play. And my other favorite play was the Colts. I was
high on the Colts, right? I think I had the Colts going to the Super Bowl, right? So I hope they don't start off 0-2.
I like the Falcons, Cowboys over, but a little scared with those teams putting up points, and I don't love over-unders. So those would probably be my three favorites of this.
Chiefs Chargers over 47 and Chiefs Chargers. I think you might get that in the third quarter. So there's another one. Chiefs Chargers over 47. I think that you might see some.
Are you ever scared of one-sided games though? Like that could be a one-sided game.
No, I think the Chargers have enough offense where they, even if it's a couple garbage scores in the end, that over comes in. So I'm not that concerned about it at all.
I hate waiting for garbage. I hate waiting for like fourth quarter touchdowns to get me over.
You know what I hate more? I hate more when a garbage touchdown kills your under. But I don't think you're going to need it. Like I said, I think this game, the Chargers are a little bit better than I think. Look at their wide receiver core. Look at their running back. They have enough talent. So you'll see. We'll talk about it later when we do our recap.
Guys, there you guys have it. There's our plays for today. I mean, Cage did some real work for you guys. He did against the spread, card play, and a daily fantasy play, right? Like, so you have them covered on all aspects. Guys, we love you. We have a guest episode coming up later. We're going to do a recap as well, dropping tomorrow. Reach out to us. Let us know. Send us DMs, questions. Let me see real quick, Cage, before I let you go.
Go ahead.
If we have any questions from Instagram. Is that okay for you?
Sure.
All right, let me pull it up. We have a few here. And let's start with the very last one from Ryan Balthazar. I like that name, actually. There's a really good bread baking place or bakery in New York called Balthazar, right, Cage?
Mm-hmm. There definitely is.
Do you guys think that Paris Campbell is still a play? His Prism cards are still cheap. His Prism cards are still cheap, and he looks good.
Well, listen, I can't tell you how good he looks. I don't know if he's a handsome guy or not, but if you were listening, you heard he was my play for today in that Colts game. I think that this will be the last opportunity you have, and we're talking about right now. Like, literally, you're going to hear this and have an hour before game time to get on his cards and get them cheap enough, because I think he's going to have another good game. And you're not going to have an opportunity to grab his cards. Second big week in a row, and those couple dollar Campbell Prism rookie cards are just not going to be on eBay anymore. It's a great question.
I love it.
What else you got?
Drake Sports Cards, Luca Nation VIP, so to speak. I love this guy. He asks us kind of questions and collaborate.
What's up, Drake?
Which wide receivers benefit the most from Michael Thomas and Chris Godwin being injured?
So I can't even tell you who is the number 2 to New Orleans, and I didn't even prep that game yet because it's a Monday night game, and trust me, we'll bring you a prep on that this evening. But that is an interesting game, right? I mean, that's an interesting game. I think I don't know if the New Orleans Saints, run the ball a little more. I don't think the Raiders are as good as they looked last week. We will see what winds up happening on that one. They might be leaning on Kamara a little bit. They might be, leaning on their running back a little bit more on that one. I think that they take an early lead, and I don't think you're going to have a crazy, I don't think you're going to have a big game from any of their wide receivers, because I don't think they're going to need to. I think New Orleans is probably going to win that game pretty easy. And it's the same thing, believe it or not, in Tampa Bay. I think Tampa Bay is a heavy favorite. And I don't think they're going to have to throw the ball that much. I think they've been leaning on their running game. They might not even throw the ball at all in the fourth quarter. So if there were weeks for teams to have their top wide receivers down, not that you ever want to have anybody injured, I think these are good weeks for both Thomas to be missing and Godwin to be missing. Evans is a little hurt too. If he plays and he plays well enough, Mike Evans, he's a guy who can have 100 yards and a couple touchdowns any week. So I guess the short answer is I wouldn't look for anybody to step up in those games, because I don't think anyone's going to have to. I think the running backs are the guys who are going to pick up the slack and add extra stats in both of those games.
I love it. And last question. This is a good one. This is from another VIP from Luca Nation. His handle is at I am Andrew Goldberg. Here he's an awesome guy and one of the founders of the Luca Nation podcast. So I just want to give him a shout out. He asked, "What is the best 0-1 team?"
So I mean, because we did our preview and I had them going that far, I say right now the Colts are the best 0-1 team. I think they'll be 1-1 after today, after beating the Vikings, and I think the Colts are a really good all-around team. I think they obviously underperformed last week, but I think they take Rivers and that team a little while to gel, and I think when they do, they're gonna really have a good season. I think they win that division.
I agree very much. There you guys have it, Luca Nation. This is going to be released literally right after we just recorded it.
Yep.
Not going to edit it. It's going to be a straight shout, so you guys have an hour and a half before kickoff to listen and make some plays. See you, Luca Nation.
Beautiful.
Thank you for spending some time with us on another episode of the Lucas, Tigers, and Bronze Oh My podcast. Do us a favor and like, subscribe. You know what? Don't just like and subscribe. Everybody does that. If you like us, tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your enemies, tell everybody. And we hope you got something from spending some time with us today, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.